Hi folks, lesson number 12, Hebrew for All. And in this class, we're going to be learning something new. Usually that tends to get the students a bit excited. And we're going to start with the master plan to show you where it all starts to fit in. Okay, so if I come over here and put up my picture of the master plan, as it were, it's going to look like this. And hopefully you have this memorized. You have over here Lishmor, one dot underneath the lamed, two dots underneath the shin, Lishmor. And then underneath Lishmor, you have the verb liknot. The new component that we're adding in today's class is the verb La-koom, which I put a little number 1 next to, because I'm going to be making a couple other additions over there as well. Now, you could say to me, how does that fit into the master plan? It's not exactly Lishmor, and it's not exactly Liknot, each of which has 5 letters. The 3 root letters of Lishmor are Shin and Reish. 3 root letters of Liknot are, and you should be able to say them, Kuf Nun Hey. But those are very, very similar. They both start Lishmor, Liknot. La-koom is the first verb that we're going to look at that really doesn't sound like it's a Lishmor type pattern verb, especially because of the fact it has, when we look at it visually, we see that it has only 4 letters. When we hear the sound, it is La-koom instead of Lishmor. No O sound near the end, rather U, and it's not Lish or Leak, it's La-koom. But out of deference, respect for the great grammarians of the Jewish people through the ages, they all saw La-koom as a sub-pattern of Lishmor, and I am hopeful that through the upcoming classes, you'll be able to get a sense of why they put it here. Maybe I'll be able to address it sometime in the future. Okay, so let's get right on to learning it, which means we come over to this sheet, and I'm going to take a pen in hand again, and that means, okay, so the first verb that we're looking at is kam. And like we've set up prior pages, we've got the 4 forms of the present tense running from right to left across the page. Kam, kama, kamim, and kamot. Simple enough. Kam, kama, kamim, kamot. And the infinitive straight away, we learn it is la-koom. La-koom means to get up. Okay? Now, as you've done these sheets in the past, if you look at number 2, you would assume, Shlomo always says, follow the pattern until I tell you to do differently. Hence, gar. The 4 forms would be, if you like, pause and give it a go on your own. Gar, gar, gara, garim, garot. Now what's interesting in this pattern is, I'm going to ask it, making it sound like a trick question, but I certainly don't mean it as a trick question. On the contrary, in order to be able to understand the text effectively, and this is really coming attractions, this idea, you must be able to answer the following question. What are the 3 root letters in kam? I repeat, not a trick question. And indeed, the 3 root letters are Kuf, Vav, and Mem. So here you see the concept of a Vav as a middle root letter disappearing, flying away as it were, in Lagur. The second one down, 3 root letters would be Gimel, Vav, Resh. The verb means to reside, a place of residence. What would the infinitive of number 3 be? Well, let's first say the 4 forms of the present tense. Ratz, ratza, ratzim, ratzot. And the number 4, you can do it on your own. What starts to become interesting is this subgroup within a group of these 3, 5, 6, and 7. First of all, I have to remind you about a little rule that I've mentioned about words like number 5. The correct reading of this verb would be sam, not sham. I would have assumed people who are total beginners would say sham. In fact, it should be a sam. It's a sama. Excuse me. The letter is a sin. It should be the s sound. The 4 forms of the present tense are sam, sama, samim, samod. It has to be memorized because it's a sin and not a shin. And the infinitive strangely changes to la-koom. Now these 3 words, sam, shar, and rav, are the 3 verbs that we'll be learning that are popular as having a yud as their middle root letter. So you see, sam, the 3 root letters are sin, yud, and mem, and you see that it impacted in the infinitive, turning it into la-koom instead of la-koom, a word that incidentally does appear in the Torah, but modern Israeli Hebrew only knows the usage, as it were, of la-koom. La-koom, lashir, which means to sing, and lariv are the 3 verbs that need to be memorized as having a yud as their middle root letter. La-koom, lashir, and lariv are all subpatterns of la-koom because the 4 forms of the present tense function identically to that. Sam, sama, samim, samot, shar, shara, shara, sharim, sharot, rav, rava, raviv, ravot. And now I just want to scroll down a teeny bit. Don't worry, folks, it comes back in an instant's time. To the last word, which for our purposes we're going to call it a one-of-a-kinder of the Hebrew language, one of the more popular verbs of the entire language. This word is ba. Hope you remember, it's b, the b sound of ba, because it's a bet, kaf, or a pei as the first letter of the word. And here, having done review or seeing prior classes would have given you the assurance of knowing that on your own. Okay, so the 4 forms of the present tense of ba'ar, ba, ba'a, ba'im, ba'ot. And what's the one-of-a-kinder aspect of this verb? Which is why I've separated it off. It's the only verb that we'll know for a very, very long time, the infinitive of which is la-vo, with the dot coming in from the top. A student once suggested, that's the ball coming in from the top like a jump shot. His name was Daniel. Lavo, dot in from the top, as opposed to La-koom, where the dot is on the side. That's a broadside, right? Like in the battles that were between boats in the War of American Independence. La-koom versus lavo. Most of the verbs of this group are of the La-koom pattern. 3 are in need of being memorized. La-koom, lashir, and lariv, meaning to quarrel, the last one, lariv, and lavo, to come. It's the only one with the dot on top, and the 4 forms of the present tense are ba, ba'a, ba'im, ba'ot. It was a pleasure to learn with you. This was class number 12, Hebrew for All, when we learned the La-koom pattern. Shalom, shalom.